Good morning everyone. Today I'm going to talk about the workflow. And the workflow is the whole experiment, everything that's going to happen in one day. Again, we're in plant science, we're trying to get as much data as possible out of one plant, out of one day. Okay, so you're trying and stitch a workflow together that makes sure that you can do a lot of measurements in a short period of time. Sometimes that's a bit difficult because you have a long waiting time because one measurement just takes a long time, but you can maybe do other things within that time. So remember the first episode when I said I was really happy to go into work, and part of that is because my workflow was really well thought through and it was all coming together, and all coming together was the essence of 3 years really. So what does it need to get through a workflow or to have a good workflow? There are different components to it. First of all, you need to be confident in your method. And that's a different episode where I'm talking about that. But if you know what you're doing and you know your waiting times and you know that you're basically idle for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, you can then plan in something else that you know only takes that little amount of time. So you can work as efficient as possible and make sure that your measurements actually make sense in the order you put them. But to make sure that you can use these gaps, make sure you've got everything you need prepared. And that's another episode I'm talking about that. But be sure that you have everything you need ready to go on the day, because it's only that makes it possible to stitch things together. But when you're putting your workflow together, make sure you've got some leeway. So if you've got a gap of 10 minutes, don't plan anything in that actually takes 10 minutes, but only plan something in that takes 5 minutes, because you always need some time to shift from one task to the other. Things sometimes take a bit longer. So make sure that it's all smooth and easy on a great day, but it doesn't kill you on a bad day. Okay, that's also important to know. Like, how much time do I need on a bad day? How much time do I need to rectify something if it goes wrong? Can I do that with the next step that I need to do in method A if I'm already starting method B in between them? Another important thing is try and keep other stress factors out of that day. So don't have any other meetings or things you need to think about, or try and solve bigger problems before that, or make sure that you tell people, I can't possibly think about it that day. You will have to wait 2 or 3 more days, just to take the stress out of you that you need to think about that at the same time, because it will pop in your head when you feel pressurized. So try and free your mind of all the other outside factors for this period that you're working in the lab, because this period you need your brain switched on, focused, and really at the point. And that's how you can perform as many measurements as possible, or a tight schedule if that's what is needed. The next thing is your workplace setup. If it is possible, it's best to have everything in hand's reach. So you don't need to make a step to go and reach to something and get it, but you can grab everything that you need from the place that you're standing at. If it's something like potting plants, then you can also think about in which direction I want to work and have one thing here and then space to leave your pots on that side. Just think these things through and make sure that you can go through the process as efficient as possible. Maybe it makes sense sometimes to work from right to left and then again from left to right, because if you're doing this motion for 8 hours, I can tell you, you're going to have a sore back in the end. So just try and get some variation into your motions as well. The way I'm doing that, for example, is in my setup. I have some things on that side of the CE room, some things on that side of the CE room. That's partly due to circumstances because it wasn't possible in a different way. But I found it's also quite nice to just do like these 2 or 3 steps, then do another measurement, have it in that place, and then go back and do the 3rd measurement. And then I even have the root, taking out the root samples and measuring my soil moisture. I just have that on the ground, so I'm going down and coming back up, so that's kind of my little exercise within this whole workflow, and that keeps me moving and that keeps my muscles a bit like flexible so they're not getting so tense. So again, you are the one who has to run this whole procedure. If you break down, the whole thing breaks down. So make sure it's as comfortable as possible for you and that you can maintain this work for a while. What's also important to maintain that work for a while is planning breaks. One thing with breaks is it gives you the peace of mind that if something goes wrong and you're a bit behind schedule, you still have that break as a kind of a buffer zone. But don't plan them so short that the buffer zone will completely be taken up if a mistake happens. Make sure you still have a break to just relax your brain a bit. Make sure that you have that you get something to drink and something to eat, because there's no point in bringing it if you actually can't have it, right? And make sure that you relax and get ready for the next chunk of work. So plan your work in a way that you can actually have these breaks. So a good workflow is a result of good planning of the logistics, some thinking about ergonomics, and making sure you've got the right breaks in between. And then you've got it sorted. I'll see you again tomorrow, and until then, keep smiling.